Welcome to Locked It Down Sports. I'm your host, Locke Hoover. You can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You can also follow us at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on the show, we've got SEC Media Days. We're going to get into that. Another swing and a miss by Major League Baseball, forward thinking from Reheem Morris, and if horns down will be a penalty in the SEC. But first, I want to get into some interesting reports that kind of came out of SEC Media Days, and the Big Ten spoke out about this as well, and that's regarding Florida State. And to me, they're stuck. They're absolutely stuck because it's well known by now that they want to get out of the ACC. They even sued the ACC about their media deal to make it public with ESPN. So it's like, okay, there's rumblings, there's grant rights and TV contracts and all that. They're pretty much burdened and stuck in and with the ACC. Also have to pay a lot of money to get out, and they're kind of exploring that option, kind of sticking their toes out there to see what might bite. Now, after those reports, you think, oh, it's the SEC, right? Regionally, geographically, they're right there. They've already got their rival they play every year in Florida. And you think they would be a natural landing spot. And after you hearing the rumblings this week at Media Days, I don't know now. Because rightfully so, the SEC doesn't need Florida State. They really don't. They really don't need any other schools. It's schools wanting to come to them. Oklahoma, Texas, wanting to come to the SEC. Yeah, of course, the SEC is going to have open arms for the brand that is University of Texas and Oklahoma, sure. They don't need them at all, but they're going to take them. And SEC's come out and said they don't have a set number of teams and schools they want in the league. So it's a fluid process, as they like to say. But Greg Sankey did come out and say this: we are not going to take our pie and slice it into more pieces. Which is interesting enough, saying, we're not spreading the money around for no reason. We don't have to go and get this team and spread our money even thinner. I think it's interesting he says this because it's kind of what I was saying earlier. We as a conference, Greg Sankey speaking this, we don't need Florida State and what they bring to the table. Market size, Tallahassee, it's not like it's the capital, obviously, of Florida, but it's not this huge, big market, this different market, because SEC gets the Florida market or most of the Florida market with the Gators. So they get that. They've already got the fan base, and of course, not all of Florida. There's Miami fans, and there's Florida State fans, and there's Florida fans. And then you get your small pieces of, your Central Florida fans. But for the most part, you get the Florida base with the University of Florida, with the Gators. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're going to the Big Ten, right? Well, not necessarily. Big Ten's come out and said they've been a disruptive partner. And they have been in the ACC. I don't know, and I don't think they would be as disruptive in the Big Ten or even the SEC for that matter because they're getting more money. And that's really the big deal and a big issue with Florida State. They're this power, but they're a program that can't throw out big time money as much. Like, look, Jimbo Fisher, when he left Florida State to go to Texas A&M, the money, the facilities at Texas A&M they're able to offer compared to Florida State. So it's like, yes, Florida State is a traditional power. You could call them a blue blood if you want. A good program. They've won national championships recently. But, what do they bring everywhere else? And I think that's part of what the overall outlook is. What do they bring? Oklahoma, obviously, Norman's a smaller market. But know what they bring? The state of Oklahoma, that reach. Texas in itself is enough. You can just say University of Texas, and it's understandable. But that's the thing. Now, there was something else that came out about the Florida State and the Big Ten, where there would be a chance of them coming or being able to go to the Big Ten, but that would mean Clemson, UNC, and Virginia are leaving the ACC to go to the Big Ten as well. And it's been reported, come out and said UNC is not, and NC State are basically a package deal together. What if the Big Ten doesn't want NC State? What was North Carolina doing? I know North Carolina loves the rivalry with Duke as well. I know they're not the package deal, the connection either, but they love that rivalry as well and continue to play them. So that's not happening as well. I don't see that happening. So it's the potential landing spot for them if they do leave is the conference that is take one, take all. We'll bring in the numbers and the Big 12. And if I'm Florida State, why would I leave that conference? Why would I leave the ACC to the Big 12? They're equally the same conference for the most part. I mean, both teams getting that guaranteed playoff spot, potentially up to 2 playoff teams in the conference. You've got your rivals there. Travel will be closer in the ACC. So why are you going there? And then I don't see them going independent, especially how the playoff is structured now, where the highest they can be is a 5 seed, regardless if they run the table, because they're not a conference champion. And I don't think they'll pull in the TV contract like Notre Dame has. So Florida State is kind of an unhappy, disgruntled partner and team in the ACC at this point, and it's kind of quiet right now on all fronts, where media days is usually when you hear some noise about potential teams. Yeah, we'd be interested in having XY team. You kind of hear the rumblings from these schools, from these commissioners, et cetera, et cetera. And I think some of it could be the SEC. We just got Texas. We just got Oklahoma. We're going to see how this is with Texas, with Oklahoma. Do we potentially want to bring in a Florida State and a Clemson? And that's the 2 schools. Maybe Florida State, maybe North Carolina. But outside of that, where are you going with the SEC and bringing another school, right? So it's gonna be fun to watch and see if the ACC kind of splits, and then you've got 3 conferences here in the next, 5 years. but that's something to watch and something to follow because you think conference realignment's done, and then it's not. So that's another 3 to 5 year watching journey to see what happened with Florida State and Clemson in the ACC. Now, something that can once again disappoints me, and that's Major League Baseball stumbling again in the All-Star break weekend. Their goal is to continue to grow the game to younger fans, to continue to pump and promote their product of who they are. We want to continue to get that younger fan base to continue to grow the game. That's always the goal of these leagues, right? Grow the game to the younger audience, and that's to continue our pipeline of success in the future. And speaking of the future, every year Major League Baseball has a futures game. Future stars from every Major League Baseball team play a National League side and an American League side. Well, the futures game this year was on Sunday, last Sunday. Why, you might ask? I don't know, because it's Major League Baseball and their screw-ups continuously. Why are you putting the futures game your potential next crop of stars competing against Major League Baseball? You're competing against your own product. Why do you not put it on Monday night when there's no Major League Baseball games going on? Or heck, why don't you put it on a Wednesday night? Last night, a Thursday night, when there's no sports, absolutely no sports at night going on outside of Summer League basketball. Their future as well, their young draft picks, their first, second round guys, NBA, Summer League. Put it on ESPN or MLB Network. I think it was played on MLB Network. MLB Network, Thursday night, all eyes on you, futures game. It's not, this stuff is not hard. It's really not. I don't continue to understand why Major League Baseball continues to stub its own toe on these sort of things. It gives people a chance to get to know even people on their own teams that are in the double A, single A, double A, triple A of, we could see him in the next year or two on my own Major League Baseball team that I didn't know, even for the fan that might not follow the minor leagues. So that's problem number one. Problem number two for the All-Star game. I think you know where I'm going with this. The uniforms. It's like softball uniforms out there between the American League and the National League. They look terrible. They don't even look good. I get why they try to generate some money and some revenue, but it greatly affects your product and the look and the marketability of the players and the teams. Now, players should be in their uniforms. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They should be in the Braves uniforms. They should be in their Pirates uniforms. They should be in their Mets uniforms. They should be in their Guardians uniforms. It's pretty clear cut to me. I mean, even like the casual fan, that might be, this is a game where you might get your casual baseball fan or your not really non-baseball fan, but you know what? It's an all-star game. I'm going to see the stars. I want to check out what's going on in this baseball game. They turn it on. It's like, who's that on the mound? Ronaldo Lopez. Who's that guy? Who does he play for? He's having a good year, but I have no clue who he's playing for. I mean, he's a Brave starting pitcher. has the best ERA in the league, but that's my point. You turn on the casual fan, you have to maybe look at the hat or get lucky that the camera shows the hat. You can't see the white or the gray jersey with Braves across it, with Padres across it. I feel like this is a simple thing. It's not complex. It's not hard. And they continue to screw this up. I mean, if you need any more proof from this, one of the biggest stars in your game at the All-Star game, one of your most marketable players, person you've been marketing for the last 10 years, Bryce Harper, has even come out and said, growing up and even now, I mean, I kind of like watching players on their own jerseys. Everyone wants it. Just do it. Now, if you want to continue to generate the revenue for these different jerseys and marketability and all that, I still think there's simple solutions for that. Have them in their own jerseys, and then on the B of the Braves, the bottom, have an all-star, have a gold all-star. I mean, the Cubs, dot the with the instead of the bear, have it an all-star. I mean, the Mets at the end of the Q, the jersey, put the star. Maybe a star down the side right there, like of the shoulders. I mean, all the way down. Or you have stars are on the sleeves. But you'd still the same white or gray jersey with the team name, with the Dodgers, with the Cubs, with the Marlins. I don't understand. And it's frustrating me being a huge baseball fan why they keep screwing this up. Every year, it's always something with Major League Baseball of how they've screwed this something up, whatever it is. The list goes on and on and on. And it's frustrating. It is. It really is. And it makes you want to bang my head in. It really does. And of course, it didn't really help the All-Star. Not their fault. Obviously, the national anthem, where it was an awful national anthem, that didn't help them. Like I said, once again, that's not their fault. They have 4-time Grammy winner. You think she's going to be okay, but she shows up drunk and she checks herself into rehab. Not what you wanted either. That's not their fault, but it's just when it rains, it pours, right? And then a third problem to me, I don't know how true this is. It's been reported, though, that Robert Manfred, the commissioner, was going to intervene and make sure Torey Lovello, the manager of the All-Star game, was going to start Paul Skeens in the All-Star game. He's a rookie, had about 6 or 7 starts, lights out. You know, you saw what he did, phenomenal numbers, throws 100 without even trying. Wicked slider, good off speed pitch, right? I mean, there's no denying his stuff. Looks like he's going to be a stud for a long time, which is great. A young stud on the mound, that's great. But Chris Sale, looking like he might be win the potential Cy Young, was rumored to potentially start the All-Star game if he didn't start on Sunday before the game. Now, the Braves themselves were kind of discussing and talking about, do we skip, move around, start so Chris Sale can start the All-Star game? Ultimately, he pitched on Sunday, so it made the decision a little bit easier after they already announced Paul Skeens as the starter. But it was reported that Torey Lovullo and the D-back staff, he was heavily considering Chris Sale to start. I don't know if any how rumors is true, how accurate it is, but I would not let the commissioner dictate who's starting as I'm the manager of this game. I earned this to be the manager. I'm going to play who I want to play, when I want to play them, and pitch who I want to pitch. It's my league. It's my all-star game. I earned it. I deserve it. Even if that's not true, just the rumors out there, it's just a bad look. And Paul Skeens he could have pitched anyway. He might not have started. So that's my 3 bad taste on All-Star Weekend. And it's once again Major League Baseball stubbing their toe about it. And it's annoying and it's frustrating being a Major League Baseball fan. Now, something I really liked when I saw this, totally opposite of Major League Baseball here, was Reheem Morris's coaching plan. Now, obviously, Major League Baseball. Let's try that again. NFL coaches are not limited in the NFL. So you have as many coaches on the sidelines and on staff as you want in the NFL. And Reheem is taking full advantage of that, as he has 26 coaches on staff. 26 coaches on staff. I was like, whoa. That's the 3rd most in the league. So it's not even the most in the league, but it is the obviously top 3 and the 3rd most. I like it, though. It tells me a few things. I like his confidence coming in. And he knows that, kind of being in obviously a new head coach, you wouldn't think they were in win now mode and continuing to win, but that's kind of where they're at. I mean, you don't go and sign Kirk Cousins if you don't think you're going win now mode. You don't go and draft Michael Penix. I know, very controversial. I've already talked about it for a lot of people, I think. You don't go and draft Michael Penix if you don't think, okay, we're passing the torch to him to continue this winning ways. I mean, with Kyle Pitts, with the running back core, they go out and sign Mooney. They go out and sign Mooney as your other wide receiver. They've got this little core here that they're building. Defense is getting better, but they were 7-10 last year. Not in a very good division. You could win the division with 9 wins. You could go to the playoffs. So I see where he's going with this. And if you win, you're going to lose coaches to other teams. I mean, you see it all the time, obviously. So that's the plan here with Morris. Reheem wants to have coaches in place, so once one leaves, there's another one to step right in. So if the OC leaves, maybe you just slide the QB coach right in. QB coach leaves. You've got a backup. You've got an assistant, offensive assistant, slide right in. Defensive coordinator, etc. I mean, I think it helps with continuity. And like Morris came out and said, he likes to replace from within. And I like that. And I think as a coaching staff, as coaches, you like that too. If you do a good job, you're going to get rewarded. You're going to get promoted up as well to coordinator or to position coach, etc. I like that. I think also one thing I do like, which I do hope he does as a Falcons man, he brings in outside voices as well for coaches. I do like that because it gives a different view, a little different way of doing things. Hey, here's what worked in Carolina. Here's what worked in Miami. Here's what worked when I was in LA, Things like that. If you make playoff runs, but don't get to the hump and ultimately win the Super Bowl. which is, of course, is the ultimate goal of any coaching pinnacle, right? So that's your goal, but you got to have plans in place, and he does, which I think is a very forward-thinking coach. And also, he's been a head coach before. So he's able to take that, what he's learned from being a head coach, being in Tampa when he was a head coach, and then a little bit of time here as an interim. See what works. He's been in a bunch of different organizations and implement that as his run as a head coach this time around in Atlanta. So I like it. And hopefully it works out with all these coaches, because that means the Falcons are in a good spot, and it's going to make me really happy. Now, as you know, SEC Media Days have been going on, and one of the big questions, you've been asked multiple times, what's the SEC going to do? What is the officiating going to be when it comes to the University of Texas? And you might ask, what do I mean? What do I mean by officiating? I mean that right there. If you're watching online, there it is. That right there is what I'm talking about, right? That's the horns down. And I'm just going to read two quotes here, straight from the head SEC official, John McDan, on if horns down is a penalty. Take the act out of a football stadium, put it in a shopping mall. Is it something that would offend a series or a majority of reasonable people in the area? Giving this signal to me is not offensive. He came out and said this. And then he's also read the rules of unsportsmanlike conduct. So unsportsmanlike conduct needs to fit in one of these three categories. Is it taunting an opponent? Is it making a travesty of the game? Is it otherwise compromising our ability to manage the game? There's a difference between a player giving a signal directly in the face of its opponent as opposed to doing it with teammates celebrating after a touchdown or on the sidelines. It's all contextual. That right there sums it all up. You can do it after you score a touchdown. You can do it with your teammates. You can do it on the sidelines. And that's it. And that's okay. It's the same thing they've come out and said with the gator trap or the land shark for Ole Miss. The exact same thing. No problems there. No issues there. And it's great. Texas is going to have to be a little bit more manly, not as soft, not as sensitive, because they get all hot and bothered by the horns down in the past. And it's like chef's kiss, welcome to the new league. Welcome to where the big boys play. Don't be so sensitive. Don't be so soft when it comes to horns down and the penalties. And I'm happy for this. I mean, it was always ridiculous whenever the Big 12 would bend over backwards to do whatever they could to appease Texas, to do whatever they could to make sure Big Bad University of Texas was okay, all up in their feelings and all fine. In the SEC, you're another school. You're another team. You're not running the conference. You're not a big boy in this conference. You're just another one of the guys. You're another one of the teams. You're not special. We're not bending over backwards for you. And that's good. I like that. The SEC's put their foot down and said, cool, man. That's awesome. I'm glad you're coming. You bring a lot to us, but we're not catering to you because you are Texas. So what, you're Texas? That's awesome. I'm happy you're Texas. But at the same time, you're just another school for this conference, and we're happy you're here. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. I'm Locke Hoover. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports on E5280 Sports. Talk to you next week.